with no further ado, we're going to end this off right here. We're going to end the show off today with the finale to one of the best shows ever. That's right. One of the best TV
Oh
shows of all
yeah.
time, in my personal opinion. This show is something special. The Last of Us, episode 9, the finale.
That's such a great this is such a great series, bro.
God damn. God damn.
Mm.
I love this show to death. This was a phenomenal episode. It was the perfect length. It hit everything from the original storyline of the games that I wanted to see. It rarely changed anything, if anything at all. It was almost just verbatim, shot for shot. The last two chapters, that being the hospital and the what do they call that? Not
Which one?
the epilogue. There you go. So
Oh,
yeah,
the
so pretty much the
epilogue.
last
Okay.
chapter in the epilogue where Joel goes through, rescues Ellie from the whole situation with the fireflies and whatnot in the game, and then ends off the exact same way we saw in the episode with them going back to Tommy's in Wyoming. This is just a phenomenal episode, man. Just kind of starting off with my general thoughts here. I love this episode from top to bottom. Getting to see the work that Bella Ramsey and Pedro Pascal have done together as characters and actors in this show so far has been phenomenal. But they did such a great job landing the plane here and hitting all these moments almost line for line from the game. And at times, I think even surpassing the original performances, man. It was great stuff. And just getting to see how Joel just does not want to let go of Ellie no matter what. Fuck the world, literally. Doesn't matter, man. This is my daughter. This is my world, so I'm going to save my world before anybody else. To me, was just powerful storytelling. Because even I was watching the finale the other night with my mom, actually, because I just got her into the series. And
Shit.
she was like on the edge of her seat the whole time, and even she was debating, like we were literally debating back and forth, like, oh my god, like who's right here? She was like, what? They can't do that, you know? She was like, how could they do that? They can't do that to Ellie and whatnot. And then she's like, damn, she's like almost mad at Marlene for wanting to even do that. And I was like, well, if
Yeah.
we look at the situation from both sides, though, you got to understand it is for the greater good in a certain sense, right? So it's like both perspectives and both sides of this argument and of this conflict both have a valid point, and no one seems completely right or wrong in this situation. And depending on who you are as an individual is going to dictate how you would react to this situation.
For
And
sure.
just the way they played out that complexity here and didn't change a fucking note, to me was just chef's kiss, amazing work. Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin, Neil Druckmann being the original creator of the game and the storyline, just a genius for coming up with all this to begin with. And the way he was able to collaborate with Craig Mazin, who's done things like Chernobyl and things of that nature, really high-end dramas, really high, with a lot of accolades and whatnot. The way they were able to come together and deliver this phenomenal series and deliver a phenomenal final episode was just beautiful. And the way they were able to bring in Ashley Johnson as Ellie's mom, sorry, who was the original voice actor of Ellie. It was
Baby
a voice
J.
actor and motion capture performer of Ellie. She came in and just knocked this shit right out of the park. And she's also an on-screen actress as well. She does both. So she's one of those people that kind of jumps back and forth, like Katie Sackhoff and Sam Witwer and other people like that. Funny how I brought up two Star Wars people. Anyway, I guess that kind of ties in. And even Pedro Pascal right there doing the Mandalorian voice. So he's kind of doing double duties back and forth as well. And I'm forgetting the name of Marlene here, but I'm gonna pull it up right here. But the actress that played Marlene originally and played her here in the show did a phenomenal job once again. And I think she's even plussed her work from the original game. I think she was better in the show, personally, than she was in the game. Not that she was bad in the game. I'm not trying to say that, but I think that the actress that did play Marlene I think maybe now that she's gotten better just as an actress over time since the game came out a decade ago, I think she was able to put that into this character and in this performance. Merle Dandridge, that's her name. She did a phenomenal job as Marlene in this thing. Bella Ramsey, just the way she was able to lock into Ellie and play that traumatized side of things in the beginning of the episode and show that kid-like wonder and show the darkness and show the pain and show the distrust she even has in Joel's explanation of what happened. Just the nuances and things she has to play in this episode is just so well done. Bella Ramsey is going to be a fucking superstar one day, just like Pedro Pascal is right now. I think as she continues on this path, I believe she's 19 years old right now, so if she continues making good life decisions, picking the right projects, I think she's going to be one of the biggest actors we've seen coming out of her generation. So really great stuff. I think she's going to be giving people like Jenna Ortega a run for their money very soon, just depending where she goes from here. Just a phenomenal job, man. And I want to pull up who directed this episode. I can't remember off the top of my head, man. I don't know if you caught it.
Hmm. Which one?
The director of this episode, Ali Abazi. He did a very great job with this, man. And yeah, man. So just a phenomenal episode. What about you, my man? What'd you think about this thing overall? I think y'all are tired of me gushing about it.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty. It was a great way to introduce. Like, cause my biggest fear was how they're gonna tell like the story of the narration of the story of this last episode, and how
Right.
they're gonna fit everything with so much that kind of happens towards the end of the game. How they're gonna make that more like condensed and more story driven within the TV show. We were able to do it. I really did enjoy this episode a lot. There's I don't know, it was kind of like they were able to pack in like so much like emotion narration of like
Yes.
Joel's character, and also with Ellie's character, with like how the conflicts were going to become to be towards the end of this game. And you kind of do see a side of Joel that we didn't really see throughout the series, but a side
That
of Joel,
darkness.
that darkness that is there, and was willing to do everything in his might, this like just to reach his end goal, which was to get Ellie back, just to get Ellie back later on in this episode.
For
But
sure, man.
it
Yeah.
was very cool to see a lot of the voice actors who did play their roles, like seeing Ellie, seeing her voice actress being brought into screen in the very beginning. I thought it was awesome. I instantly heard Ellie from the game, like, oh shoot, that's fucking Ellie, dude. She's in the screen, and like the way she's just like, the moment you hear her voice, like, and you play the game, you're just like, oh my god, like,
I had
it's
the
such
same
a
thing.
big
I was
moment.
like, wait a minute. And then they
Yeah.
showed her. I was like, it's her.
It's
'Cause we were waiting this
her,
whole
dude.
season. Me and you, like, I think we were talking about that the whole time because Miguel was
Yeah.
like, because he doesn't know the game, so he wasn't expecting her to be in there. But we were like, damn, where's she at? Where's she at? You know?
Yeah.
We've been waiting
Yeah.
to see her, and we heard rumors she was playing Ellie's mom. So once everything started coming to fruition, and we saw the pregnant woman running, I was like, oh wait, I think this is it.
Yeah, that's
And
her.
I was like, and that's a
her.
great expansion from the game that was not included in there. We're gonna get into that really shortly once we get the recap kicked off here. But
Yeah.
I loved that detail. Amazing stuff.
And like, just ending off my thought, I thought it was very great, and this is I like that addition too, because like I said, always with this show, like they're able to explore a lot more with the characters that we've already known from the past with the video game. But now with the show, we're able to get more flourished development. We get to know that Ellie did have a mom, but she never met her because of like,
Literally, man.
because of like that whole incident that from what we've seen throughout like the early in the episode. And even then, that was like a very heart-wrenching moment, because imagine like you just gave birth to a daughter or just any child, and then you got bit and you had to cut the umbilical cord right away, and your only moments is to be seeing your child, like you're seeing your baby child for a little bit, and then you have to end your life after that moment, because you're gonna end up turning into one of those creatures. And I'm sure like in that world you would rather get killed off than be turned into those things. So it was a very great opening. I enjoyed it very much. Give like this overall series, it's just, man, there's like there's never an episode below a 9. I would say
Nah,
that.
like not at all, dude. And that's the thing with this episode. It almost felt uneventful compared to some of them, right? Just in the and even in the game, it feels that way. I don't know if you felt that same way, but not in a bad way. Where you're just like, man, it's almost like it almost feels like easier. Like there's not as much going on, right? It's not as like epic or as bombastic per se, but the emotion you feel and the way that it
Yeah.
just ties up this story is just so beautiful and so well done. And yeah, man, it was just phenomenal stuff. But I guess we can go ahead and get into recapping and getting through the events of the show here, and ending off with where we think things are going to go for season 2, going off of part 2. And I did start the game, so we can kind of get into a little bit of the beginnings.
Oh,
there, maybe
part
see-
2?
Yeah, I just bought it last
Okay,
night. I started
okay.
playing it a little bit, so we'll kind of get into that at the very end of the show and kind of see where we think things could go and where they can kick off season 2. And then maybe down the line, right once they announce season 2 coming, we'll kind of get into a whole breakdown, speculation type thing about where we think they might map the whole season out once we start getting some release dates and trailers and stuff down the line. I think that'd be pretty fun because I should beat the game way before then. So That'd be pretty fun discussion. But we'll get into that at the end of the episode. But I just wanted to kind of tease that right there, man, so we can kind of nerd out a little bit about the game because I'm really digging what I'm seeing so far. One minor complaint with the game so far, but overall I'm liking what I'm seeing. But anyways, getting into the episode itself, guys, we start off, like we said, with that cold open with Ashley Johnson as Ellie's mom. One question, did they name drop her in this?
For
Ellie's mom. Did we get a name? I don't think we got a name, did we?
I think I'm trying to remember.
I'll look up the cast list just to make sure.
I don't think we got a name.
Which I don't mind at all. Personally.
I don't mind that. I don't mind that. I
kind of like it.
Check too. I don't
kind of. It feels real, you know. Like, why would she just have to say her name in that exact moment? You know, like it kind of makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I'm gonna try to see.
I believe because like it was just.
I feel like they never did. Oh, Anna Williams.
Anna Williams
is what is credited as on IMDb. So yeah, I guess you could assume her name is Ellie Williams then, if you're gonna go Ellie's full name, if that's the case.
Oh damn!
Because the game they never even told you about Ellie's mom or any of that. That's one major departure they did do here for the finale.
Oh, Anna Williams, I see it.
But yeah, it definitely reinforces everything from the game and the series. So this is one of those times where these are the liberties you take with these type of adaptations. And that's the one thing with this show they've done so well. Every single thing they've changed is either improved the game or given you better context for this show. So even if you know the game and think something was better done in the game, it's not like it's taking anything away from the game in a disrespectful format because the original creator is there going with these same ideas. You know what I'm saying? Or even like Sam being deaf, that wasn't Craig. That was Craig Mazin's idea, not Neil Druckmann. But Neil Druckmann said, "Oh shit, that's genius. That only enforces the themes of my game and my story. So let's run it. Let's do something different for the audience that's gonna watch this because they like HBO. They're not gonna give a fuck about a game because they never played no goddamn game." You know what I'm saying? So I love the way that they're able to say, "Hey, let's tell a better story for the sake of the audience, but let's make sure we honor our hardcore fans at the same time." The way that the MCU in their best of times does. The way that Star Wars in the best of time does. So I think that this is where it just shows the level that this show is at. It's just on a whole nother echelon. But the whole sequence right here with Annie Williams running through the forest going into labor is just fucking crazy, man. And just a frantic energy of the way they have the steady. They don't have the steady cam, you know. They kind of got the handheld cam. I think it was really, really awesome and really made you feel the frantic nature and the anxiety of the moment. And I figured, I was like, oh shit, don't tell me she's running from an infected and she's going to get stopped right here. So I'm glad she at least got indoors somewhere. And I was like, okay, here we go. And I'm like, God damn, how did she end up alone? What happened? What's the context here? Who knocked her up? Why did she get knocked up during this pandemic? It's 2009. Stop fucking people.
Yeah.
God damn it.
It's a
pull-out game is weak out here. You can't have that going on, man.
It's the game, dude. It's the
You know what I mean? Like all those thoughts were really crossing my mind, not even to be funny, but really though. I was like, who the fuck? Who's having what? God damn it. I bet you can't find condoms, but just damn it. Keep it to third base.
Yeah, it's one of those tough situations. But yeah, being pregnant during that time, dude, imagine like dealing with all that. That's such a like I don't
even want to mention the A word because that's a whole nother crazy fucking road I don't even want to head down. So that's the crazy part with this. You get all these questions in your mind.
Yeah.
But anyway, as she makes her way to the cabin and tries to get herself, locked away, tucked away for a minute, she's literally like feeling the water breaking literally at that moment. Her hand's like soaked. She can't even open the goddamn doorknob or turn the doorknob to get the door open. She's like, oh shit. She has to like use her dress to get the door open. And you're just like, oh my God, dude, holy shit. And for a minute, I wasn't even thinking about it being Ellie's mom for a quick minute because I just got so caught up in the moment. But I was like, that's definitely the actress that played Ellie. So this must be something this has to tie in somewhere. And then once I saw her giving birth and whatnot and kind of started thinking about it, I was like, oh, wait a minute. And then once the runner got in, I was like, oh shit, dude, it's Ellie's mom.
Let's like even dude, honestly, when like Ellie got Ellie's mom was able to get to upstairs and she was kind of like up against that wall, like hearing the freaking runner running up that fucking stairway super quick. Like, I was like, I
can't honestly, get a break, bro.
Yeah, dude, those guys are fucking fast. I was terrified. I was like, dude, he just like ran up he's a short distant runner ready to beat my ass. Like, I do not want to deal with that. And you just hear him pounding on the door right away. It's like, fucking hey.
I'm like, God damn it, just let her have a baby in peace, you motherfuckers.
Yeah, but where's
the fireflies? Where is everybody? Somebody help.
But he ended up breaking through though. He broke through, and that's even like a whole other thing.
And then she's literally giving birth right then, going into labor right then and there, and has to fight this fucking runner off. I'm like, yo, but there's the fight that Annie has, man. I'm like, Ellie, bro, God damn, that's just amazing writing right there. It's just the way that informs a character so well, man. And she just straight shanks this motherfucker and shivs him right upstairs with the freaking sneak attack, straight up PlayStation style. Kills this motherfucker, gets him off of her, and I was like, it's the same old trick, y'all. This is the one time this was predictable, but I like it. Because I'm like, she got bit, didn't she? Didn't she? And then you look down on her leg, and it was right there on her thigh, man, the inside of her thigh. I was like, you motherfucker.
Yeah.
You motherfucker. Yeah. But now I see what's going on. It's Ellie's mom, man. And then you see Ellie literally right there, umbilical cord still hooked up and everything, her on the ground crying, just came into the world, man. And I'm like, God damn, she didn't even realize she had a kid right now. Like, literally, she didn't even realize, like, she actually just did it. And then that'll help. You don't even need to push. She was good.
Yeah,
so, there you go.
Out of that, I feel like that. Like, you're cool. You don't need no coaching.
Nope.
Your coaching
the runner
is just
did
surviving.
The coaching, I guess.
Yeah,
it's a hell of a way to do it. Would you like the cordyceps pregnancy program, ma'am? No.
It's like, oh, fuck that, dude. Get the fuck out of here.
Would you like a natural birth or a cordyceps? No.
Oh, you're high intense.
Yeah, exactly. But then freaking she's like, oh God, what am I gonna do? She's like, oh shit, cut the umbilical cord, hurry up.
She
does it with the pocket knife, right?
She did it with the pocket knife that she had. Yeah,
God,
she snapped it off immediately. And like
the fact that Ellie has that, and that's the umbilical cord that literally saved her life and everything, and gave that. It's like, goddamn.
Yeah, it was a huge thing.
How do you write shit like this? It's crazy.
Because like the amount of time like she got from her getting bit, and like that, we'll assume like that the whole infection goes inside the bloodstream pretty fast. Like it probably, like she probably, by the time she cut the umbilical cord, there was still like probably like a small dose of the cordyceps.
Yeah, for sure.
And then that's when she was able to fight it off and build immunity with it.
Exactly.
As she gotten older,
that's mutated
why I was like, cool.
naturally and organically over time. You know what I mean? And a little bit of that.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. She got mutation coming through. But no. And
on
then
an unrelated note, Bella Ramsey for X-Men. Unrelated note. But anyway. Anyway, I'm going to get to that at the end of the show. Real brief.
Okay.
But I got like a pitch on that one. But anyways, but for reals, as we continue the episode here. And then we just get even more heart-wrenching because Marlene and the Fireflies finally catch up to her. So maybe they got separated and something happened there. And that's when we get the whole context of them being, lifelong friends and the relationship that they have together and whatnot, and seeing the connection and how Ellie ended up in her possession and whatnot. And this was all said and name dropped in the game, in this actual, at the point where Joel is at the hospital after the Fireflies run into them and everything like that. Marlene in the game explains that fact that she knew her mom and everything like that. This is where the writing of the show from Craig Mazin is just amazing. Literally, pun intended, because he's able to expand on that. Instead of, we're not going to give you exposition, we're going to show you. We're not going to tell you, we're going to show you. That is true filmmaking and storytelling at its finest, and they did that here. And she's like, how long have we been friends? She's like, all our lives. She's like, all right, well then kill my ass and take my baby, because I'm going to turn into a fucking runner or something. I'm going to be looking like a goddamn flower plant in the next 5 years if you don't have the balls to make this decision now. You need to take me out right now. And I was like, God damn. She literally said, kill me. Take my baby, get her somewhere safe, and kill me. Take her to Boston. And I was like, God damn. And this is not the cool-ass Dropkick Murphy song. You know what I mean? Like, fuck, dude. We're going to Boston, and I'm not hyped on it right now. And I was like, jeez, dude. And then she's like, Marlene doesn't want to do it at first. She's like, I'm not doing it, bro. Fuck off. I'm not doing that. She's like, dude, if you don't fucking do it, like, you're an asshole. Like,
pretty
don't
much
let me suffer, And I'm like, damn, that's true, bro.
That's such a like that will be like the worst case you can have for somebody.
Way worse than Sam, even.
Yeah, like
because it's like, fuck.
Because like even then, like imagine that, like if like you had an enemy and they were bit, I would take out all the, like, make sure you had no weapons.
That'd be easy, right?
But, and then like make it more of like a torture. That's like more of a torture thing to let somebody
exactly
do that. But like as a friend, you had to do that common courtesy. Is like, I know, like, it's gonna hurt, it's gonna suck for the both of us, but you know what to do. Like, you don't want me turning into these things and see me roaming around the fields or something like that,
taking other lives and fucking up things. And
Yeah.
and all this shit. And it's like, and then they suffer while they turn into that thing. And who knows? Maybe a small piece of them is in there somewhere that just can't get out, and they do feel the pain and they do suffer. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
So that's the deep thought. As the more you, it's like the more you sink into this rabbit hole of fucked up shit, it's like you just don't want to even think about it. So she picks up Ellie, or actually Annie wraps up Ellie in the blanket and everything, and then puts the pocket knife with her, and tells her to take care of him, take her to Boston. And then as one of the Fireflies picks up Marlene picks up Ellie, gives her to one of the Fireflies, and then she goes back in the room, bam,
Shoots her
and
like
shoots
that.
Annie. I love how they don't show it, because I'm like, it's enough to hear it, I love the way that they're able to pull back and not get so in your face like it's a slasher movie, because it's not. You know what I'm saying?
No.
It's something deep that you don't want to see. So I love the way that they're able to. They do it, but they don't need to exploit it and make it like a shock factor sort of thing. So I appreciate that with this show.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then Ellie's crying, and you're just like, oh god.
Yeah, I also like the fact too. Like, even throughout the show, they mention it. Like, for that instance, like even the Firefly dude, he covered the ears of Ellie. I mean, it's not going to be completely muffled, but I like how they took in the effect of like a gunshot, like how loud that thing.
Exactly.
How gunshots.
The
could
attention
be.
to detail.
Yeah,
that was actually a real newborn baby, though. That was like a real baby. Which was crazy.
Yeah, that's why it was so much that's why when I looked at it, I'm like, damn, dude, that's like I wonder how much he had to pay for like the mother or something like that,
dude,
for that.
But it was real, and I knew too when I saw. I was like, "There's no way that's fake." I was like, "That's not CG, bro."
That's straight newborn right there, and I think that's an awesome details. Like the little details that they had, I liked it a lot, because like if they would have shot the gun and then like they let that little detail, because like I went shooting. Yeah, like I went shooting and like that thing, like gunshots are fucking loud, bro.
Me too, bro. I had my headphone, like my earphone off a little bit. My shit was ringing a little bit because I have pretty sensitive hearing. So I was like, fuck, like if somebody shot a gun near me, like and just shot like at my ear, I'm fucked. You could probably just pistol whip me to death at that point, because I'd be out of it.
Yeah, and that's like the one thing I liked. I like those little details, and you get to see that a lot with Joel too throughout this episode. It's like, dude, like the gunshot, like, that's something I don't want to mention until we get to that point with like
as
a little
he goes
more
to
of his hearing.
His hearing, yeah.
Like
sure.
how he was talking to Ellie about like that gun missing him to a certain point.
Yeah. We definitely will get into that.
That's another detail that I liked as well. But ending off that thought.
Yeah, for sure, dude. But yeah, so pretty much from here we jump back to present day, and we pick up with Ellie and Joel right outside of the city. Do you remember what city they're supposed to be in, by the way?
Shit. They mentioned it in the show. I heard it last night too.
Yeah. I was like, cause I played the game like almost a week before, or like 4 or 5 days, like 3-4 days before. So I was trying to remember. I was like, I just played the game.
Wasn't it Colorado?
I think so.
Colorado.
Let me
that's
see.
what I want to say.
Where does the end of The Last of Us take place?
I thought that's where they were stationed at. Because I remember there was in West Coast.
Utah.
I want to say Utah. There we go. Okay.
Yeah, it's Utah. So they are on the West Coast. I knew it was West Coast. I just couldn't remember where. Because they were in Colorado at the university. They made their way down to Utah.
There you go.
That's what it was.
I think that's where
in episode 8, episode 7, episode 6. Sorry. Yeah, episode 6. Yeah.
That's where I was getting mixed up. Okay, that makes a whole lot of sense then.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, so we pick up with Ellie here, and she is just traumatized after the events that went down with David and everything last episode. And we won't harp on those specific details, but she cut motherfucker up like it was time for the freaking birthday cake, and everything that's just gone on to this point between Henry and Sam. And even, just everything that's gone on, all the lives they've had to take, all the lives they've seen lost, all the fucked up shit they've had to endure over this last episode, shooting dude in the ass only to have Joel fucking stab him to death. A lot of fucked up shit going on through this journey to make it to the Firefly facility in the state of Utah. And Ellie is just out of it, man. Like, Joel is trying his best to kind of cheer her up. He's like, hey, I found some Chef Boyardee. We can munch out after this. You know what I mean? I know you love it.
Yeah,
the real dad side of Joel, and I love getting to see the dad and not the daddy side of Pedro Pascal come out. Calm down, ladies.
Yeah.
But I like getting to see that fatherly figure really come out in Joel, and it's just perfectly played the same way. This dialogue exchange was a little bit different here than the game, but it plays out very similarly in the same vibe and tone right there. And he's like, "Hey Ellie, you listening?" She's like, "What? Yeah,
Yeah, two different tones. Yeah, because like in the game, Joel, he wasn't as upbeat,
as warm. Yeah, he was
as
still
warm.
trying to
He's like,
cheer her up, but he was a little more kind of reserved about it, or a little more awkward about it. Here,
Yeah.
Pedro Pascal really brought that warmth to it, but that's why you cast him to play this. You know what I'm saying? He has that energy about him as a person anyway. He's kind of a little more of an upbeat kind of guy. So
Yeah,
I love the way
yeah.
that he was able to kind of portray a little bit of himself into Joel, but it really made sense for the moment in the context of where they did things in the show. So, like I said, man, these actors just seem to be able to like match what Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson did, but they just seem to be able to elevate it and change it up enough with keeping the same intent there. So it's just masterclass acting. That's why I do not belong in that field, because I don't know how these people do that. But yeah, man. So you get to see that, and then Joel starts getting into the verbatim conversation of the guitar thing from the game, where he's like, "Hey, I reckon you'd be really good at playing guitar. Why don't I go ahead and teach you someday when we get past all this stuff?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure." Because he's like, "Are you listening to me?" She's like, "Yeah, that'd be cool, yeah." And then he's like, "Okay," and he can see that he knows that something's wrong there, and I don't think he knows necessarily the sexual aspect of what David was doing. I don't think he quite is understanding what's going on. And as a father that never had to deal with that type of situation, even with his original actual blood daughter, I think it's just weird, and he won't really know how to tackle that aspect of it. Having to see a kid kill somebody is one thing, but the context of why she had to kill him and what was going to go down one way or the other was just pretty crazy, between cannibalism and some really inappropriate type shit.
That is something that they did change in the game.
Because I don't think he went for that kind of thing necessarily in the game. I think it was just about eating him.
I think because like the thing is too, because it was like I think they were kind of going that same way within the game, but it wasn't as crystal
super
clear.
duper subtle, like super duper.
Like that's how it was, and the difference was that Joel was inside when she found Ellie, and that's when she went on that. I went on the murder thing, and Joel got the hints of what that guy was trying to do, because like Ellie said, like he was trying to do, and then by the time she were able to like end that sentence, Joel already knew. He's like, I know, baby girl, I know.
Right. That was what it was. In the game, he didn't pick up on it, but in the show, he did. That's what it was.
And that, like, well, no, like in the game, he picked it up. In the show,
oh no, in the show he doesn't.
Yeah, because he was outside. That's like the main key difference.
Because she ran out of the front door. You're right.
Yeah, and then that's when he came out, and she was just crying, but she didn't say anything about what happened inside. She was just crying, and then like that's when Joe says, "Don't worry, I'm here, baby girl," pretty much, and that was it.
So he doesn't have the full context of the situation, so it's already awkward. And then now he hasn't opened up like this in so long. It's already weird as a general. So this is just a really tough subject to talk about with anybody, let alone a dad that lives in our modern times, you know, and in the real world. So it's just difficult stuff to go through, and that's just the complexity of the story. And that's why The Last of Us is the best video game story ever told, and just one of the best stories, man, on screen now to this day, in my personal opinion. But as we continue moving forward here, they make their way into Utah, the city itself, and he's like, "All right, well, I reckon that hospital we're looking for is up ahead. Let's go do our thing, you know. Let's finish this thing." And as they're making their way through there, they get to this building that we all know from the games, for those of us that have played it. And as they kind of start making their way up there, you know, Joel's like, or as they make their way up there, they get to this one point where they can't really hop up to this little like platform to get to the next story, because a lot of buildings are just fucked up and decrepit and whatnot. A lot of staircases broken down. So he's like, "Hey, Ellie, if you jump up on that platform there and throw the ladder down, you know, I can climb up." Straight up video game shit, y'all. We're seeing freaking gameplay play out in the show. I don't know how the fuck these people work.
Straight up a command from.
It's so crazy. I haven't seen anything like this since Sonic in the first Mortal Kombat film, where they were able to work in something from the game verbatim almost, and it does not feel forced at all. I love it. And then as Ellie's putting the ladder down straight up out of the game, she's like, "Oh shit, yo, look at that." And he's like, "What the hell's going on?" And I remember in the game, I was like, "What does she see? Is there a zombie or something? Fuck, another one? I just fought a bunch of these fuckers." And then he has to make his way upstairs, and he's like, "Hold on, I'm like almost 60. I'm coming." And she's like, "Hurry up, Joel, hurry up." And it's so funny because I remember myself as a kid doing that with my dad, you know, like, "Hey, come on, Dad, hurry up." So it's so funny, like kind of being an adult now, seeing a kid do that. I'm like, I just love the way they're able to play that wonder with Ellie in these moments and bring that levity. But as she makes her way upstairs and everything, they see that what got her so excited to begin with was a giraffe was right there, man, just chilling, eating the leaves out of the trees and whatnot. And it's just taken shot for shot, word for word out of the game. And they even said it in the post interview for the episode that they just really just relied on the game and just kept it 100% right there because it's such an iconic, well done moment. Why change it? And I love the way that you see that joy come over her face and see her come out of that funk a little bit and kind of bring back that humanity and what she's fighting for. So I love the way that they're able to work this in such a way that's organic, dude. Like if I saw like some kind of animal that I'm like really into, and or like Miguel, he's a big giraffe person, so he would have been super hyped. And now it's probably something if he saw in this kind of context that would bring back the joy in him. So it was really cool for Ellie to see something she never saw before and get to see it in that moment. And there's just poetry at work,
Yeah, for sure. I think that's like one of the great things too, because that moment, like even in the game, the remastered version, and even the original,
which is the one I have.
Yeah, like they kind of made that scene like very like a heartwarming moment between the two, and like that big huge moment reveal with that giraffe going off with the family. And that view towards the out, like pretty much in that outwards towards the city, it's such an awesome shot. I remember when I played
took a screenshot of that.
Yeah, I remember like I was playing the remastered one, and we got to that point. It looked so beautiful. I was like, "Fuck, dude, that's such a nice view for as a video game, bro. That's a whole other level
for sure, dude." And they ain't even touching the part 2 graphics right now. So, whoo, man, this just gets, like I said, top-notch stuff, man. And as they make their way into the city, I couldn't find a picture of the giraffe, unfortunately. But as they make their way, they're making their way into their hospital, into the facility and whatnot. And as they start getting a little bit closer into the area, Ellie breaks out the puns again, and she's getting into No Pun Intended Volume 2. And I can't remember the joke. It's killing me. Oh, wait. What was it? I just remember the punchline, but I can't remember the damn joke. But it was all because it's meteor, or why does an asteroid eat the moon or something?
Oh, why does Mars rocks are better than Earth rocks?
Oh yeah, why do moon rocks taste better than moon rocks? Yeah, why do Mars rocks taste better than moon rocks? And he was all, I don't know why, because they're meteor. Meteor, a meteor. And he's like, oh my god, that's a 0 out of 10.
That would have been mine. That would have been my reaction. Like, bro, you gotta chill. Like, you gotta get better ones.
She's like, come on, bro, that was a good ass one. And then she was about to start getting into another one, and then all you see is this dude in the background come up, and I'm like, fireflies. And he throws the flashbang grenade right there. And I was like, oh, shit, I feel like I'm in Call of Duty Modern Warfare in, like, 8th grade right here. I'm like, oh, shit. And
that's it.
Bam. And Joel covers Ellie a little bit and kind of protects her from it as much as he can. And that just completely fucks his equilibrium all up because he's already almost deaf in his right ear. He's really fucked up there. Mm-hmm. And we found out why right before, but I'll cover this and then jump forward a little.
We'll go back. Yeah,
my bad. I skipped over one of the most important freaking things in there. But then he ends up getting knocked out, getting hit with the rifle and whatnot. And then the one exchange that I skipped right before this moment happened and the puns and all that was actually Joel actually admitted to Ellie where that scar came from. And it was from the day after his daughter died in the first episode, in those one of the craziest things I've ever seen in events, in that beginning episode back in 2003 when his daughter was killed by the government agent or whatever, or by the federal agent, whatever you want to say. He tried to commit suicide the very next day after the fact, when he was just had nothing left to live for. And I was like, oh my God. But he missed because he hesitated. And I was like, and he's like, I don't know why I was here, and I don't know. I was ready to die. I was ready to go. I was freaking 1994 Biggie right here, ready to die. Yeah. And it just wasn't my time yet. But now I know why. And she was all, oh, okay, I get it. Time heals all wounds, right? How us kids always have to jump into the middle of the story that your parents trying to tell you and trying to give you that life lesson or whatever. And he's all, no, time didn't heal it. And he looks right at her when he says it, and then that just tells you right then and there, she did. You know what I'm saying? She healed that hole in his heart and really helped him to be able to overcome some of that grief, or at least as much as he's really willing to let himself, at least, because as we see later, he ain't completely over that for sure.
Oh, no,
but I love that beautiful moment between these two characters and the way that they acted that out. And that was something new that they added in here that was not in the game whatsoever. Yeah. But it perfectly fit in with the vibe and the cadence and kind of the rhythm of the scene. And the way that they worked that in so organically just really, really works, man. And like I said, I love the liberties they were able to take with this and really make it true to the characters and not just try to make their own spin on it just because they got to put their own spin on it, but because it's informing what's going on and actually improves the original story and actually improves their relationship and their connection together as characters in my mind. So
for
I
sure,
loved that. And then Joel wakes up and we're there with the Fireflies with Marlene in the hospital, and he's like, "Hey, where the fuck is she at? What's going on?" He's like, "Hey, you're good. Don't worry. She's getting prepped for surgery right now, so you can't see her at this moment." And that's when we're about to get into the crazy shit right there, because he's like, well, wait, what do you mean surgery? What are they going to do exactly? And she's like, well, they got a procedure to where they kind of figured out that the cordyceps that have kind of been inside of her body kind of communicates with the other cordyceps and kind of makes them think that she's one of them, so it leaves them alone. Yeah. So if we can get these cordyceps that have grown in her body throughout these 14 years and we essentially clone them and put them out for distribution to create more vaccines, we can create these vaccines to give you the antibodies to fight this virus. This can actually be a full-blown cure. It was like the 2021 conversation, but no political arguing, which was very nice. I actually really liked that. And anyways, and I really liked that one. But anyway, as we move forward here, and then he's like, oh, shit, okay, well, wait a minute. He's like, well, the fucking cordyceps grow in the brain, man. So what the fuck you saying here? And she's like, you know what I'm saying, bro. And he's like, nah, bro. You ain't taking no fucking cordyceps out of the brain. You're going to take me to her right now. And then the dude freaking hits him in the dick or whatever. He's like, oh, shit.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, you got her. I mean, he was hurt pretty bad. But at the same time, when Marlene's telling Joel this, you can also see in her face that she's also just not like the pain, that she doesn't want to do this. But she knows that
it must be done for the greater good type of thing, you know?
Yeah. So that's where that big debate, that how you talked about earlier, with how people think like Joe was right or Marlene was kind of in the right too, because that was like that huge debate that's been going on for like the last 10 years, the past decade, with like how Joe handled that situation. So it was it's very cool, because I feel like in the game I don't really see Marlene's expression too much about like Ellie kind of like being killed off for the greater good. Like you don't really see the pain in her eyes much in comparison with the TV show. The TV
exactly.
show, you get
video
a lot
games,
more.
It's more limited to the amount of expression they were able to make, especially back in 2013 when they first made the game, and even the remaster's never going to really bring it to today's standards. And the games always have a little bit of that uncanny valley with the eye movement and whatnot. So that's where I thought that the actress was able to come through here in the show and really plus the performance and really add a lot more nuance to the moment overall. It makes you not root against her per se, but not necessarily just take one side over the other, because you understand both perspectives. And that's the complexity with the original story that they were able to really portray and adapt really well here on screen. So that was fucking awesome. And then Joel's like, man, this is some fucking bullshit, yo. And she's like, well, this is what it's going to have to be. This is what we have to do. I'm sorry. We can't look for any others. She's the only one we know in the States and the world, really. So we can't take any chances. So we got to do this. If he tries to do anything, shoot him. And I was like, oh, my God, dude.
Yep.
Here we go. And as they're making their way down those flights of stairs, he's like, all right, dude, keep moving, motherfucker. He's like, hey, I told you to keep moving. And then Joel comes around with the quickness, elbows the dude, takes the gun, shoots him, and then shoots the other guy before he gets the chance to retaliate, and then
grabs it. He grabbed that like Ellie's knife, pretty much.
And grab Ellie's knife and backpack. But before that, right before he's gonna head upstairs, he's like, the dude's like, hey, wait a minute, don't do it, please. He's all, I ain't got no time for this. Bam, point blank, shoots him in the face. I was like, jeez, man, holy shit, because he didn't want to tell him where she was. He's all, fuck you, dude. He's like, I ain't got no time for this shit. I'll find her anyway. Bam, shoots him in the face, and I was like, woo! He's a cold-blooded criminal, man.
That's when
cold-blooded, smooth criminal, bro.
You get to see what Marie was talking about, like how like Joel was like when he was killing like innocent people like that.
The thing that Tommy didn't want to even think about. He's like, ooh, bro, you were doing some shit. And I love the way that some people were bitching online that Joel was not hardcore enough in the show. Joel's soft. They're making him too emotional. I'm like, nah, bro, they're doing that so they can deliver the darkness in these moments, and you're actually involved and invested in like the character, because it's not a video game. You're not going through there busting heads and slicing up people and shit. You know what I'm saying? We
Yeah,
don't need to
it's
make
like
him that hardcore the whole entire show. It's a TV show.
no.
And that's what video game fans need to realize with some of these more violent games and storylines. They got to pull back at certain times in order to let people breathe and make it more palpable for an audience to watch real life people portraying on screen. It's not a
Yeah.
video game. You can't it's not people aren't desensitized the same way. You know what I'm saying? You can't portray it the same way. People have been conditioned to watch TV and film differently than video games. So that's the
Yeah,
thing that I don't think some video game fans are realizing,
I think too is like Joel is like not that hardcore. Like they're thinking it like I guess like their approach is like Kratos will be the only one. And like if
Yeah,
we're talking about video
he's
games,
just
he's like straight rage. Like that's his character.
yeah, that's
Like
literally it. Chop up everything coming except his kid in the new series. That's it.
yeah, and that's pretty much it. Like, and that's the only time Joel doesn't. I mean, he gets that he has a temper. Don't get me wrong. He can get to that point, but it not that hard. Like not
He's
that
not that
hard.
dark all the time. You need to fuck with
Yeah,
him or do something. He might have had a time like that, but that's not where he's at right now. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And that's not the
yeah.
character. It's like Nathan Drake. He'll kill and shoot a bunch of people, but he's not just trying to shoot a bunch of innocents. He's shooting mercenaries and other people that are trying to kill him too. So
Yeah.
it's not like he's just this cold-blooded killer. He's just retaliating and doing what he needs to do to save the day. He ain't got a whip and shit. He can't be doing the Indiana Jones thing. And even in the movie, although the movie with Tom Holland wasn't the greatest, it was the same kind of thing a little bit, He had to kill people at a certain point or else it was him or them. So it isn't like they're just straight up killers like a Kratos or like a, something like that. So it's not that kind of character. So I think people need to try to keep that in mind as they go through this thing. But Joel, he goes to the hospital straight up pretty much like the game, except they kind of streamline it a little bit and kind of make it a little bit more quicker. Which I kind of wish they would have dragged it out a little bit and made a little more of a set piece out of it, just a little bit, just for the action fan in me and just for getting to kind of relive the game a little bit more in that moment. But it was still really well done and well shot, and I love the way that they actually muted the audio and kind of filtered out a lot of the sound, so that way.
You kind of just get like that eeriness, like how as he's like you're seeing him massacre people down the halls and him killing everybody.
And just
then,
shooting
like,
up fools like
yeah.
on point, man.
Yeah, and then like you hear some of them, like you see one of you. I think you see there's two of them that kind of shows that like that darkness that like Joel does not give a fuck. Like he's cold-blooded killer. One of them being is that there's one of them like he was willing to give out his gun, but Joel said he killed him regardless, took his gun away. And there was another one where he shot somebody and he walked up to him with a knife and then he straight up stabbed him and you hear the guy like pleading for his life. You don't see the action happen, but you kind of like built out that
fill it in.
Yeah, like throughout that time, and you're just like, "Fuck, dude, that's such a terrifying thing to see." Like, I mean, even to hear it, like you just hear somebody crying for help, and you see a guy just straight up like killing the people, like friends that you know, and things like that. And then like all you know is like you're kind of like there to pretty much try to like protect this doctor or try to find a way to have the cure. But there's one guy that's killing, like murdering everybody that you know, just because of him getting back that child. It's such like a you see that like the kind of that somber approach, that cold-blooded approach from Joel as he's like clearing out ways of fireflies pretty much.
For reals, man. And as we continue on here, he makes his way to the operation room, and then he shoots a couple of the guys in there. But then you got one surgeon left, where he's like, "Hey, motherfucker, don't come any closer. We can save a lot of lives here."
Yeah.
He's like, "Look, man, I get it, I understand, but we can save a lot of lives, dude. I need you to put the weapon down." And Joel's like, "Fuck off!" Bam, shoots that motherfucker, and that I believe is gonna come back around later.
Oh, that definitely is.
Part two. We're getting into that because I read something about that online for a character in the future. So we're gonna get into that in just shortly as we wrap up the episode. But yeah, man. So Joel's like, "I don't give a fuck." He's like, "You two, take the fucking IVs out and turn around right now." I'm like, "Okay, all right, don't fucking shoot me, dude." And then,
yeah,
and
there
then,
it is.
then he gets in the hospital room and he picks up Ellie, and then that's when he's rescuing her and taking her out of the operating room. And this is the one part from the game I kind of wish they didn't change either, with like the frantic nature of them shooting at him and everything. I kind of wish that was still there a little bit, but I understand why they kind of changed it for the purpose of the show. But just kind of that video game side of me was like, oh, that would have been cool to see it like that, just to get that intensity, just driven all the way up into the last moment. But I get why they changed it up. Probably was a little bit more easy and logistically to shoot it the way they did it. You know what I'm saying? and just not to have Joel killing too much. So I think that's what it was, and just to have the possibility of him escaping with no weapon and them two just kind of out in the open and whatnot. So I kind of get it, but it was a well done moment nonetheless. Excuse me. And then as he makes his way downstairs into the actual parking structure, so he can escape and get the hell out of there. And as he gets down there, he runs into Marlene, and she's like, "Yo, bro, freeze. Here's the thing. Let's do the right thing here. Let's make this work, man." And he's like, all right, fine. Bam! Gotcha, bitch. Straight up Dave Chappelle. Gotcha, bitch.
Gotcha.
Shot her. And she's like,
Yeah.
oh, shit. And he's like, and you just see the gun right there, like, bam. And then you jump forward to, or actually before you saw that, you jump forward to them driving away, actually. And then Joel's in the front seat, Ellie's in the back, straight up out of the games, actually. I'm glad I caught myself there.
Yeah.
And then Ellie's like, what happened, man? What's going on? And he's like, well, they did some tests and they operated. No, not operated, but they did some tests. They looked at some things and they saw that there's actually a lot more like you. There's dozens of you out there like you actually that are immune to the disease, and they don't really think that they could actually recreate enough to actually save everyone. So they're gonna stop the test and stop this whole operation, and they're just gonna look for somebody else. So unfortunately, it just didn't work out. I'm sorry. And she's like, wait, what? No way. He's like, yeah. And as he's kind of explaining this story to her, it flashes back to him with her in his arms right there, but with the gun pointed right underneath where like her like legs would be, because he shot Marlene real quick and kind of tricked her. And then she's like, "Oh, come on, bro! Don't do this, please! Just spare me, man." He's like, "You'll just come after her." Bam! Shoots her in the face, point blank, and I'm just like, right out of the games. I was like, God,
straight up.
Joel don't give a fuck.
He don't.
Fuck the world, bro.
And that like debate before that too, like Marlene and Joel saying, like Marlene's telling Joel's like, you're kind of taking that what Ellie wanted with her whole her whole like cureness and stuff like that. You're getting rid of that choice from her and stuff.
Yep, you're not letting her make a decision because it is her decision. It's not yours. It's her life,
and
not
yours.
And
you're straight up taking that away from Ellie's possession. And she also mentions, he was like, "What are you, like? This is like our only big chance because we got the one doctor that's actually able to do all of this. Because remind you, all the doctors are dead. Like there's
a lot.
There's
if there's any left, we don't know where the fuck they at, and we ain't gonna look for them.
Yeah, like there's no way in how we're gonna find them. Like this is our only chance. Like what are you gonna do? Like if we just let you walk out of here,
you're just gonna grow old, die. Oh yeah, right. You're gonna grow old, die, and then Ellie's just gonna move on, and then the world just goes to shit."
Yeah,
and then you're doing this for nothing, bro. You're doing it just for yourself.
Yeah,
and that's true. That's literally facts.
Yeah, and that's like a huge selfish ad. That's why, like, I was like going, like, I was kind of like on the side of Marlene. Like, I think Ellie should have been,
for sure, yeah.
Even though,
but
like,
I still don't dislike Joel, and I still don't blame him. Almost, you know what I mean? Like, I get it.
It's like that.
I just don't think it's the right decision, but I get it though.
Yeah, it's like that It's like that duality. You see it like so clear. You get one side, but you also get the other side. Like why the opposing side is doing their thing, and that's why I liked that whole debate because like I don't want to spoil too much in the next game because like there's also like further details about the operation, but yeah, that was like I liked that whole that little. Dialogue exchange between Joel and Marlene, and then that's when they cut back with the truck with Ellie and Joel, and they have that conversation. But you also Ellie, you kind of get that hint that Ellie kind of feels like
she ain't buying it.
She ain't buying it. Like there's some bullshit in there. Like she knows
I smell bullshit.
Yeah, straight up. And that's why, and you get to see that in the show and also in the game. Like, she's like, oh, okay. And then she turned the other way from Joel because she knows that what Joel told her.
Sound right here.
It doesn't add up. It doesn't add up whatsoever. So, I think that's like, there was a great way that, like, the whole ending of it. That's what I did enjoy a lot is like, you kind of see Ellie's confliction too with like Joel because now she's starting to, like, I guess like she cares for Joel a lot, but she's scared that Joel kind of took away that
glimmer of hope for the world, man.
Yeah, and then like also that
his own pain, because of his own grief, because of his own issues and trauma. You know what I mean? So it's like it's just crazy, bro. Like, and I can't wait to see where the relationship's gonna go because I got a hint of it already playing a bit of the beginning of the second game, and I'm just like, damn, I wonder where this is gonna go. And it's just so interesting, man. And then you get the whole hike with them at the end. And him, as they make their way back to Wyoming, and he wants to show her the nice view and everything like that. And that one final confrontation with them where she's like, yo, look, real talk. Is everything you said about the Fireflies true? And he looks at it. He's like, you swear that you said everything about the Fireflies is true? And he looks at her for a moment. And he straight up says, I swear. And I was like, no, Joel, just tell the truth, man. And then at that moment on, I'm like, their relationship will never be the same again. It's like point, it's no way they can get back to where they were in episode 4 at the campfire telling puns and shit. They're never going to get back to that point, I don't think. Because the second she finds out any of this shit over the course of where this goes and the time jump to the second game and season 2 and whatnot, there's no way that this can end well. So I'm just like, fuck, dude. This damn show, you're squeezing my heart and twisting it around, man.
Yeah, and I loved it. I liked the ending too, because like their whole dialogue, you hear that acoustic in the end, and it goes off like right when she just says like okay. All she did was like okay, and that's it, and it just cuts to black, and then you hear like the title starts playing, like the credits start rolling in.
So fucking good, man.
Yeah,
and that is it for this episode of the finale of episode 9 of The Last of Us, my friend. Just real quick here before we end the show out, just a little bit of speculation for season 2, and I'll kind of break down where I've gotten for in The Last of Us Part 2. So big spoiler alert for anyone out there that hasn't played the second game that wants to, that's been playing along and doesn't want to get spoiled on any details. This is your spoiler warning right now. Just click off here. That's pretty much it for the conversation. We'll see you again in the future. Make sure you leave your comments down below and all that good jazz. Click all the buttons and shit. Ring the freaking cowbell over there. But yeah, you've been warned. But getting into part 2, so I played the beginning of it. So essentially, obviously, for the beginning, you see Ellie get the guitar from Joel after Joel explains how he lied to Ellie. Or actually, he's talking to Tommy about how he lied to Ellie about what happened with the Fireflies and everything like that. And they kind of give you a little bit of a quick recap of him essentially killing off all those freaking Fireflies and taking her out of the hospital and whatnot, and the lie that he told to Ellie, and he's cleaning off this really nice looking and Taylor acoustic guitar. And for those that don't know, Taylor acoustic guitars are phenomenal, so recommend those out there if you got a good $500 plus to spend and you don't mind, investing in your next instrument. I definitely recommend Taylor acoustic for sure. Really good stuff. But anyway, he's cleaning off this guitar and he's explaining to Tommy what happened, and then Tommy's like, well, damn, that's some crazy shit, bro. And then later on, as I was getting ready to part ways, he's like, you know what, man? I probably would have did the same thing, brother.
It's like,
I feel you, bro. He said, like, damn, that's crazy. I was like, see what I mean? Like, it's that dichotomy in that argument. Which side are you going to be on there? And then Joel kind of makes his way back into town and whatnot. So you play the game a little bit there. You get back on the horses and shit. You go back in the town in Wyoming at the commune, and then you meet up with Ellie and you give her the guitar and everything like that. But and before he does, he sings her the song and everything. And then she's like, oh, wow, that didn't suck. That was actually kind of nice and sweet. And then he gives her the guitar. He's all right, I'll get out of your hair now. And then we flash forward 4 years into the future. She's now 18 years old, getting up to start her day. And apparently they had some wild party the night before where her and these other teenagers living there in the commune that she's friends with, she ended up hooking up with this one girl that was going out with this one guy that they do patrols with and all this other love triangle nonsense stuff. Which I didn't mind, you know what I mean? Because Ellie's kind of in a somewhat normal society, so kind of getting to see some of those teen elements playing in here. I actually kind of think it's a nice change of pace for the show. I mean, for the game. Just a little bit of less darker material to kind of start out, give you a little bit of a breather before you get into the fucked up stuff that I'm sure is to come. And maybe that's some of the stuff some people had issues with in the beginning. I didn't mind it too much. It's kind of nice getting to catch up with Ellie with where she's at in the community because it is the closest to what our life is like. So I think that makes sense that there are those kind of slice of life kind of vibes going on there, which I think they probably will play into for that first episode of season 2. And Ellie's going to go, she has a job she has to do in the morning. She ends up meeting up with the girl that she hooked up with the night before and all that, and they got to go on their patrols. So from that point, you flash over to the new character, Abby. And from what I know and from what I think I read online and came across on accident, but now in context makes a little more sense, she's the daughter of the doctor that told him, hey, we can save a lot of lives here, right?
Yep, that's kind of signs off like a whole lot, like.
And she's on some like revenge angle to kind of take them out, and that's why her and the guy in the beginning that seems like Abby used to date or something, that looks like she's like targeting their community because she's looking for Joel and Ellie, correct?
Yeah, she's looking not for Ellie, but
for
she
Joel
is
specifically.
looking for Joel specifically,
and she knows who he is.
Or
just knows that there's some dude that killed my dad and he lives in this commune.
Hold on. Let me think. No, I think she knows the face.
Okay.
Of. No. She doesn't know the face of Joel until
she just knows he's there.
She just knows he's there, I believe. Yeah. If I could
Okay,
remember, because if I could remember like all the way back, because I'm like replaying
it's
the
been a minute.
moment,
Yeah.
because like I'm trying to remember like when they actually no, she does remember him. She does remember him, but the other group doesn't. The other group doesn't know what Joel
Okay, so
looks
they
like,
don't know, but she
but
knows.
she kind of faintly knows the who he is and stuff.
Oh,
And
okay,
if I
got you.
could remember, like, cause like I'm trying to like, cause like I know the group doesn't, but I'm trying to remember if Abby at first glance realizes who Joel was when you get to a certain part of the game,
Right, because I
and
haven't
I'm
even gotten there yet, but I just got to the part where she's like making her way into town and getting to that lookout where she has to fight the infected a little bit and whatnot. Because she decides to go, as instead of going back to her camp, she decides, fuck it, I'm going ahead and going over here. So I got to that point. Then I went back to Ellie and Dina where they got shut in from the blizzard and end up having their little romantic moment or whatever. And then I jumped back to Abby, and then that's where I stopped. So I haven't played anything else yet, but
yeah,
that's pretty much where I'm at before she's making her way into the commune at
I want
the lookout.
I want to say yes, like she does recognize him, but I'm trying to like I don't want to spoil too much of the game,
Right.
but but I feel like if I could remember correctly, she does realize who he is, but she has to play it cool and not reveal like what her
Almost go
intentions
undercover
were.
in a sense.
In a sense, yeah, that's why I'm trying.
Ah,
That's why
okay,
I said
interesting
like
there.
no immediately, but you'll see it. You'll see it when you play throughout this
Okay.
part
I'll
two.
probably end up
You'll,
getting to that point today or tomorrow as I'm playing it,
oh, for
but yeah,
sure,
dude.
yeah,
But it's really
definitely.
interesting, and that's a character I think is going to be very very interesting for season two. I don't know if that's necessarily the character that everyone's more on the fence on in the Last of Us community that played the games and had a lot of anticipation going into that one, but I think
Yeah.
she's a very interesting character, and I can't wait to see where it goes from there. But it's very interesting how in the current timeline, 4 years later, you haven't seen Joel yet. So I find that interesting. You don't play a lot of Joel in part two so far. It seems to
You
be a trend for the game.
yeah, there is some there that's why like part 2 is such a huge fan base confliction, more specifically for Abby. But I think if they would have told the story in a different like order of like how they went about with Abby's character and with like Ellie's character, with like this those two mainly. I would say with those two mainly, like how they told like the story throughout part 2. If they reordered it to a certain way, I feel like the story would have been a little bit better at least, cuz like I feel like how they tried doing it, they try to like grab like they try to like play with people's emotions a little bit, and I get it, but it doesn't play off too well with like how they tell it off story wise. I feel like it's something that they if they make a couple of tweaks here and there, like in the middle of the game, I would say like when a certain swap happens, of you going to one from one character to the other, I think like if they did something a little bit differently there, then it probably would have been a better story driven game. But right now, with how they went about handling some characters, it just didn't
Doesn't
really
hit
do
quite the
much.
same way as the original game storyline. Because even so far in the game, I kind of feel the same way. Not even in like a total bad way, but it doesn't have that same like. It just doesn't grab you and have you like the whole time like the same way the first game does. Probably more like sporadically throughout the story. You probably get more drawn in at certain points than others. You know.
Yeah, so that's why like part 2 going on to next, like if they when they do this
Yeah, because
second
it's
season,
confirmed. Season two is coming.
I think how they're gonna do it with part 2, because it is such a divided fan base already as it
I know,
is.
dude. I
And
remember Twitter was ablaze when that game came out, bro. It was crazy.
yeah, and then like knowing the general audience too of how the if they do go that original route, of how many people will be upset unless they do the story narration being told kind of differently. I think it might be a 50-50 season. It might be. I want if anything, I want them to fix up like what they were trying to be told in part 2 and have it be kind of like like tuned up to the point where like we can, even us people who played part 2, who has played part 2, who has seen like a walkthrough part from part 2 and got the full story of it, kind of like fixed it up to like where the issues started to go along. Like that was kind of rough patch and everything throughout the game. Because
sure.
I feel like that's like the one thing that they do got to like kind of work on for this next season.
So most of the story pretty much works, but you would say some of the things in that second act probably just need to get, like you said, just need to get punched up, changed up around, just minor tweaks in that middle act, and then probably end up bringing it home a little bit stronger.
Yeah, because like it's just like I'll tell like we'll talk about it like a lot more when you finish.
Yeah,
the
like as
game
I
and
get
stuff.
through the game and stuff like that, like we'll kind of like I'll kind of check in with you and shit like that as we
Yeah.
do these shows and as we kick it and whatnot. I'll kind of give you the update on where I'm at in the games, group chats and shit. So as I kind of get through there, I'm like, oh shit, I'm in the middle, bro. Like shit's crazy.
Yeah,
So
like
I'll keep you updated for sure.
Yeah, but like that's the thing. I think season 2 could be promising because like I get the story, like the message that they're trying to set out.
Good message. Just the execution of the story, you would say, leaves
Yeah,
a bit to be desired.
yeah.
So if you just change up how you tell it,
It
there
could
you
be-
go. We're in
it
for
could-
another great We're in for at least another good to great season of television, which for me is good. I mean, this is literally one of the best season ones of all time. So I mean,
Oh, definitely.
I mean, they don't.
Yeah.
It's like at this point, even in my mind, just being realistic about it these days, after watching all this kind of stuff for so many years now, to me, it's like just be good, just be worthy. Don't have to be better, but just be worthy of being in the conversation of the series. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So for
yeah.
me, that's all I want in season 2. Do the characters right. Change what you need to change to improve the story, but stick to your guns to a certain point too. You know what I mean?
For
'Cause
sure,
some people just
for sure.
aren't gonna like it, or certain people in the games or whatever. Like, change it up for what you feel is best. But I don't think they should just gut the story. I think they should try to keep most of what's there. Because
Yeah,
there's a certain
definitely.
way Craig Mazin wants to tell this story and build this world that I think they need to keep some consistency. But I'm with you, bro. Like if the middle act needs to get some different execution, I hope they're smart enough to think ahead and look at that and see how they can just change it up and try something different for the show a little bit and see what happens. It
Yeah.
may improve it, it may not, but I think they should definitely try to switch it up a little bit and see what they can do to kind of improve it. The way they did with Ashley Johnson's character, the way they did with the cold open in Indonesia, Jakarta. I think there's so
Yeah.
many cool ways that
Yeah.
they could do things like that with season 2. So I'm not nervous at all personally. I'm more nervous for the backlash against them, but I'm not nervous for me. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I think that's what's gonna be an interesting time, right? It's gonna be interesting to see what what changes that they're gonna make because I'm sure they got like a lot of criticisms for part 2 for sure.
Oh yeah, Craig
And-
Mazin. I'm sure he's already percolating, dude.
Yeah, and like I'm pretty sure like he's like okay,
Neil Druckmann, I mean.
yeah. Like I'm pretty sure he's like okay, so what I was trying to say in the game, like it's either it wasn't like how I wanted everybody to interpret what I was trying to send the message about, and maybe I can go a different route with the TV show,
Exactly.
or kind of go back to like maybe at times the drawing board, do keep like the key elements like you mentioned, and this like
Like the Abby storyline to me seems like that just seems fucking cool. I'm like, that seems like that should be there. That whole revenge plot and element and everything in there. Kind of having Joel kind of face the consequences for the actions he made and things of that nature. I think like you got to have that. I think.
Yeah. I feel like for sure. I would say this. For episode 1, I kind of want them to have like a small glimpse of Abby's, if they're gonna do it, Abby's perspective, or of like what happens like after she heard.
Oh,
about,
at those events.
that
that'd
event.
be crazy.
So
2023.
like as she runs up and she sees her dad got killed by Joel, and they kind of set up that
that'd be
premise.
a cool cold open right there. Like
Yeah.
you show the scene almost like again, but like from like a different perspective. Like you hear what Joel and them are doing, but you don't see it, and then she gets there, and then like Joel and them are already like making their way out of there, and she just sees the aftermath. That would be pretty cool.
I would like that's like something like I would want them to do, and they kind of like ease us into this Abby character. If they want to go this way, like kind of like have that there. I don't know where they can insert it because obviously fans want to see Joel and Ellie.
Of course.
That's like the prime essence there.
I would keep what the kind of the beginning of the game is too. Like kind of go off of what you're saying, but
Mm-hmm.
also implement it the way they did with the game. I would just jump back and forth, man. I would give us the Ellie perspective and like kind of like fill in the gaps in the 4 year for what happened and kind of jump forward. But I would also make sure to spend plenty of time with Abby throughout those first couple episodes because we definitely need to establish her and get what her perspective is because she's a big part of the story for sure. I know that.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah,
so it's
and
like you got to inform that character. So I think they should definitely, I would say, have episode 1 be about Ellie and Abby. I would say like jump between those two the same in a similar way to the game. And then I would
yes, yeah,
just
yeah.
and they should definitely have that Joel and Tommy scene. They definitely should do that.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be it. And I wanna say this too. I feel like Tommy in this upcoming season, I would say he's more deadlier than Joe,
Whoa,
than Joel,
really?
because like
Interesting.
I always felt like Tommy, he could go like to Joe's length of being like a cold-blooded killer. You gotta see that in part two. You actually see that a lot in part
Ooh,
two.
I
And
like
but the
that.
thing is already, and it's already been established already within the TV show, that Tommy was within the Marines. He was like in there already
Right.
doing like all these missions. What was, I forgot what that bumper sticker was within like
Combat
Desert
veteran.
Storm, combat veteran, like Desert Storm or something like that. So you know he has that military experience already there. So like I feel like already with that, and then like I don't want to go off a little bit
And all the
going on that,
darkness of their hunter kind of days,
yeah,
if you will,
like
raider days, if you will.
yeah, like if I feel like if Tommy decides to like go that route, being like straight cold blood, like being a cold blooded murderer, he'll be like the scariest guy there because he can shoot. He has a great. We didn't see it in the show, but you'll definitely see it in the game, and we'll definitely see it in the next season of what he means of being that top tier marksman shooter. Because
Hell yeah.
that's how he is in the game, and you get to see that in part two, and you get to
Fuck yeah.
see
See,
him being that hunter,
this is
like be
why
that
I
hunter.
was so excited for part 2 because I was like, I know there's goodness here. I was like, maybe everything doesn't work, but I know this game overall, like it's Neil Druckmann, it's the same team. I was like, most has to work. I think more works than doesn't, and for me, I mean, like that's a lot of sequels. So it's kind of the it's kind of the territory you're dealing with a lot of the time. But yeah, man, a phenomenal episode. Just final thing here before we wrap it up. Rating of the show, rating of the episode. For me, I'm going to give this episode a 9 out of 10. I'm going to give the entire series a 10 out of 10. This is the first 10 out of 10 series in a long time. I love it.
Damn.
There's nothing wrong with the show, bro. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the show. Every episode was the perfect length. All characters got development. The action was great. The effects were awesome. I love that this was so heavy on practical effects, practical sets, real life babies, real life freaking deaf people playing actual people with disabilities. The real way that they were able to add in new characters like Melanie Linsky's character and her brother, add in the doctor, add in these new elements with Ashley Johnson's character of Annie Wilson, being able to flesh out the world and flesh out where it came from and the origins of the cordyceps coming from Jakarta, Indonesia. This show is so well layered, so well told, executed, put together. Every actor delivers in every scene. There's no weak actor in this show. Even Stranger Things, I love that show to death. It's in my veins. I can point out weak moments. I can point out weaker actors. I can point out things that they don't. I think Will Byers and Mike Wheeler have not had a character arc for at least 2 seasons. There's nothing like that in this show ever.
Yeah.
The goddamn right-hand man to Melanie Linsky's character even has nuance to what's going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? One character we met in 2 episodes that was never in the games before is just as compelling as other people like Sam and Henry. And that whole dichotomy of that, the way that they were able to execute this show and bring it to life. It's the best video game adaptation of all time. This is one of the best TV series of all time. Right now, for season 1, like any show that's out with 1 season, this beats them all for me. You know what I mean? So this is definitely going to be one of the best shows ever made. In my personal opinion, this is definitely one of the best shows out right now. This is Pedro Pascal's best performance. Bella Ramsey is going to be a star. Neil Druckmann, I think, should even get to do more in Naughty Dog. I think he should get to do whatever the hell he wants. Craig Mazin did a phenomenal job with this series, and I hope all the actors in here, like Lamar Johnson and all these other people, get their chance to shine in the future, and I just can't wait for season 2. I love this show to death, man.
This show is an awesome adaptation. I would say as an overall, this like TV, this episode and overall show, I'll give it everything a solid 9. Everything about this, I really did enjoy this series a lot, and it was awesome to see what they went with, how they went with certain things with the show from the video game. It was great to see that each week. I liked everything that you mentioned before with coming on to like the practical effects, how the story and narration is going on with certain characters. everything like that, the little small details, like even for instance, like gasoline, how they even mention like, oh, like for me, I like that. I like seeing like,
Me too.
I mean, it's obviously like gasoline over time will break down, so gas won't be like you got to fill up very frequently. I like those little things like that, like the gunshots too. I like to, like people mentions like, oh yeah, gun, it kind of fucks with your hearing a little bit. I like that detail as well, and I like pretty much everything about the series. There's obviously for me, like I just wish there's like obviously like a little bit more. That's like there's always gonna be, that's the thing with this show, even with this game. Like you kind of want like a little bit more for each from each segment of like each part of the game. Like you kind of want to have more of the story there, but you only have limited amount of time, especially for a TV series of what to be told throughout each episode. So that's why that's like the only thing like a little bit from me, but it's still great storytelling as an overall. The only thing is like we didn't really see too much. I would say like a little small thing would be seeing too much of the cordyceps infections. We didn't really see too. We only see like the clickers and all that.
That's a fair point.
We only had like maybe like a couple sprinkled in, but the way that they told it though is kind of like, okay, good thing we didn't see too much of them, because they are so, the clickers especially, when we see them coming out from that fucking basement, they are terrifying.
And
I
the
feel like
bloater, man, they did such a great job with that.
yeah, and it makes sense why we don't run into them too frequently, because honestly, if we had something like that from the TV show into the game, like how they were, Joe would have died in the video game right away.
Dead as fuck.
Yeah, he wouldn't be getting out of the fucking out of like the safe zone, pretty much the quarantine zone. And it makes sense. They have those little tweaks here and there, so it makes sense like why we don't get too much of certain infected. Maybe we might get them next season as a possibility. We don't know, but all I can say is that I liked the look of how the clickers looked and how they moved around, how the runners were. I mean, for instance, for like the clicker of like back in episode, I believe it was 5. I might be wrong, but where like all the clickers came out came out of the basement, and you see that child clicker inside the same car as Ellie, and you see her moving, squirming. I like that detail because it's such a freakish thing, seeing like that someone like a cordyceps girl just like
contortionist too.
Yeah. And it was creepy, and then you see Ellie like barely getting out, and you see that infected girl just scratching against the window. I'm like, fuck that, dude, I don't want to get near anything like that.
So good, man.
Yeah,
reminded me of like the beginning of Dawn of the Dead, Zack Snyder. Reminded me of something like that, you know what I mean? Just that intensity and that fucking real like just that intensity and that real it's like an action movie with a horror movie at the same time. It's like this like really crazy blend. Just freaking phenomenal, man. Yeah. You know what? Actually, I'll go with you on the zombie thing. I'll go 9.75 because I would have liked a little more zombies. That's a good point.
Yeah,
it's a good point. But overall, it's a phenomenal series. Please drop your thoughts about The Last of Us in the comments. I really want to discuss this one with all of y'all out there. And remember, we're going to be doing recaps for all these kind of shows. Excuse me. For these week-to-week shows, you know what I'm saying? We're going to be covering, Pedro Pascal is not going to be going anywhere. He's going to be coming out every Wednesday. Mandalorian, we're going to have immediate reactions for that every week, so make sure you're tuning in for all that stuff. But don't forget to click all the buttons below the video. You know what I mean? This is just our another edition of the Fandom Frequency Show. This is another portion of that, so make sure you're checking all that stuff out, and make sure you're staying tuned for everything we got going on around here. I got some Scream content for Scream 6. It's going to be some awesome stuff, guys. We got plenty of stuff coming at y'all, man, but make sure you tune in for all that.